Hey everybody, welcome back to Gideon Stuff, and welcome back to another episode of Edge to Edge. This is a series where I take two knives and I compare them against each other, and we decide which one's better. So, today's competitors are the Spyderco Tenacious and the Kubey Tityus. What does Google say? I don't want to start making boob jokes all video. Let's answer this via professionals. I know that the name is derived from either a Greek myth or a scorpion species, but let's see. Okay, so Tityus. Let's see what the pronunciation is. Tityus. Okay, so it's Tityus. Alrighty, anyways. These are the two knives we're going to be comparing in today's video. And at first you might think, why these two? You might also think that there's a clear winner already. Here's why. So I've been carrying my Spyderco Tenacious recently. It sat unused for a long time in my collection. I decided to pull it out and start using it again. And I actually found that there are quite a few similarities between these two knives. Kind of in blade profile and ergonomics a little bit. And I decided that I was going to compare these two because I think it's going to be interesting. And I do think that there's going to be a very clear winner. I think the point system is going to be very lopsided. But I think it'll illustrate some interesting things. So, as a lot of you know, we've got 10 categories. 1 point will be awarded for each category. Ties are possible. So, basically, in a ruthless round, we would have a 10-0 score, but we can also have, you guys have seen these videos before. You know what it's like. So, let's go ahead and get right into this. And we're starting off with the blade. And this is where we're getting interesting. Right off the bat, this is why I wanted to do this comparison in particular. Because D2 steel versus 8CR. I definitely like this steel better. This knife is a little bit thinner behind the edge than this one, but the full flat grind on this knife makes it cut like a champ. And so I really didn't know. I was like, okay, which one? Which one am I going to go with? We got a little more edge retention over here. We got a little bit. This one feels like a more efficient cutter. This one might be a hair slicier though. Like if you're just slicing things, you can get caught in the fuller. So that's something to take into consideration. This knife, full flat grind, just breezes through material. Which one do I want to give the win to? Or is it going to be a tie? At first I was going to say tie because, they kind of compensate for each other's weaknesses. That's not what I meant to say. I guess that kind of makes sense. I think I'm going to give the win for blade to Spyderco Tenacious. I think the cutting geometry is a little bit better. Yes, the steel is inferior, but I think it's just a little bit more user-friendly than this one. We've got quite a bit more belly here, which can sometimes, if you don't know what you're doing, that sounds very condescending, but bigger bellied knives can be a little bit more challenging to get used to. Yeah, this one was really, really close. This has an amazing blade. Don't get me wrong, this one has an amazing blade. You know what? This round has to be a tie. It has to be a tie. Okay, it has to be a tie. So we're going to go with a tie. This comparison is going to be a little more interesting than you thought at first, isn't it? Because it's turned out to be a little more interesting than I thought. So, tie on blades. Next up, ergonomics. Again, very, very weird. And this is an area where these knives are very similar because you have these thumb ramps in both cases that make the knives feel very similar in hand. And there's a lot that I like here. Like this Spyderco has excellent ergonomics. I love the little cutout that they have here, this little smoothed area. I love that they've chamfered everything down. It's thinner than the Kubey, but it still feels substantial. The jimping here is much better than the jimping on the Kubey, if we're being honest. Feels very, very good in hand. Fantastic ergonomics. The Kubey also has fantastic ergonomics. It's a fatter knife in this direction, and it's wider in this direction. Very hand-filling. You get a really solid grip on this chunky boy. You also have an area where you can choke up. The thumb ramp is great. I cannot feel a clip at all in my hand here. I'm ready to rock and roll with this bad boy. We're going to give him a tie again. Oh no, Gideon, you're taking the easy way out. You're just giving ties all over the place. Well, pretty soon there won't be any more ties. All right, next category is materials. Yeah, this is a clear win for the Kubey. These knives are basically the same. Steel liner locks with steel pocket clips, G10 scales, D2 steel, 8CR. Look, I don't hate 8CR as much as some people do. I think it can be an okay steel, but D2 is better. I think it's just empirically better. And especially on this knife that has a coated blade, you know, you're not going to worry about rust too much. And also, in my experience, 8CR is not really all that better at resisting corrosion than D2 is. In fact, I've had several 8CR knives rust in really weird circumstances, so it's like barely a stainless steel. Alrighty, next up, fit and finish. This is interesting. So, Spyderco, great action. This one's running on washers. Snappy detent. Very well put together knife. There's a lot of quality here. It's got that kind of Spyderco. It feels like a Spyderco. If you know what a Spyderco feels like, it feels like a Spyderco, right? However, this knife, for the price, this is like almost half as much as this knife. These knives go for like $45, $50. These go for like, gosh, I've seen some insane prices. Okay, not half. That was being generous. But I've seen these online go for about $55. In stores, I've seen these as much as $60 to $65, which is absolutely ridiculous. The other day I was in a Sportsman's Warehouse, I think. Or was it a Cabela's? I think it was Sportsman's Warehouse. I'm pretty sure it was. And I saw they had the Spyderco Tenacious for, I think it was $63. They had the Resilience for like $75. It was insane. Online, these are a little more reasonably priced, but for the price, I mean, I gotta say, this Kubey is put together. I mean, look at that action. That is, woo! Really, really nice. You get all kinds of good things. This was right out of the box. With this knife, the action is good. Now, out of the box, it was not that great. It took, I've had this I carried this a lot when I was in my younger days. But I carried this a lot, so it's had that time to break in. I've fidgeted with it and taken it apart and done all kinds of stuff too. I've polished the washers. So yeah, the action right now is very good. In fact, this is one of the best Spyderco Tenacious actions I've ever seen or felt. I think I've got one of the good ones. But yeah, we're gonna have to give fit and finish to the Kubey because Yeah, I mean, perfectly centered. Out of the box, it was dropping shut. Really, really great. And especially, you know, since they're a little more reasonably priced than these, yeah, that's a big consideration. And speaking of price, our next category is value. And I think you know where we're going to go with this. It's got to go to the Kubey. I mean, this D2 steel under $50 is excellent performance. Excellent performance. I know a lot of people, especially in the enthusiast part of the knife community, are complaining about D2. You know, we don't want to see any more D2. We're done with D2. I'm sick of D2. But honestly, under $50, this is a super steal at that price point. And Kubey does an okay job with their D2. I know there's a lot of variance with heat treats and things with D2. I think Kubey does a good job with theirs. Yeah, I think, honestly, for the value, yeah, what are you paying for with this guy? You're paying for that little bug there. So, yeah. Definitely value goes to the Kubey. Alrighty, action. Again, this action is very good, especially being on washers, but it's taken me years of breaking in and messing with it, polishing washers and stuff to get that way. Good action. Good action. Not gonna complain. But oh man, that is just insane. This is probably one of my best action knives in my collection. I'm not someone who's usually that big on fall shuttiness or the finger guillotines, but even I can appreciate that this is just out of this world. It could probably even be a little bit better. This guy's running pretty dry right now. In fact, let's put some KPL in there right now. Where did I put my KPL? Where's my KPL? Usually it's right here by where I film stuff, because this is also my table where I do all my work. Where's my KPL? What did I do with it? Maybe I accidentally drank it last night in a fit of tired insanity. I was up late last night doing research. Okay, well, you know what? We don't need to find it right now. Action's great. So, yeah, the action definitely goes to the Kubey. I think that kind of goes without being said, right? Alrighty. Fidget Factor. Yeah, it also goes to the Kubey. We've got multiple deployments here. We've got the slot. We have the excellently placed flipper tab. That action makes it super fun. You can do all kinds of stuff with this knife all day, every day. So, yeah, with this knife, you know, you get your blade whole, and that's all you need for use. That's all you need for, you know, just taking out and using it. But, you know, we all like to fidget with our knives. It's fun. So, yeah, the Kubey also wins Fidget Factor. Alrighty, carry. Now, this is where we're going to get interesting and maybe a little bit controversial. So, here's the Kubey clip. It's a tip-up carry reversible clip. Love to see that. I'm not the biggest fan of this clip. I wish it was recessed. There's just not a whole lot of room under there. It's just not the best clip. Also, this knife is pretty fat. I'm going to give the carry to the Tenacious because we have four-way position carry, and I know, you know, who carries tip down? Well, a lot of people, and I can see a lot of reasons to carry tip down. In fact, I have the resilience that I carry tip down when I carry it. Maybe I'll make a video about why, but yeah, four-way positional clip, and I like Spyderco's clips. I really, really do. I think this is a good clip. It's not obtrusive in your hand. It works in and out of the pocket. Yeah, I mean, I know everyone who buys Spyderco's like immediately throws on aftermarket clips. I like Spyderco's clip. I think it's okay. And especially here with the four-way positionability, the carry profile of this knife is, you know, just a little bit better than that Kubey. So yeah, I'm going to give carry to the Spyderco. I think it's earned it. So yeah, finally a point for the Spyderco. Hurrah! Alrighty, next, construction. Okay, so this is a close run. So the Kubey, T8 hardware, that's awesome. You know, we'd love to see that. Wait, do we have T8 hardware on the Spyderco too? I can't remember because I'm a doofus. I think we do. Let me grab my little... Where did I put my T8 bit? Oh, it's already in my driver. No, those are T6s. T6s. So, yeah. That's something that the Kubey's got going for it. It's got T8 hardware all the way around, but I'm actually going to be giving construction point to the Spyderco. So, construction is a little bit different from fit and finish. Like, fit and finish is, you know, how, I guess, the quality control. You know, how efficient is the quality control out of the box, everything like that. I think the construction is a little bit better on the Spyderco because I think there's some design features, there's some things that they do to make it just feel a little bit extra. It feels like a Spyderco. I already mentioned that. You have all these standoffs here, very solid feeling knife. The jimping here is excellently done. The access to the lock bar is fantastic. Much better than the access to the lock bar on the Kubey, which isn't bad, but this is much better. Honestly, the way this knife is built, it's built to be tough, right? And I appreciate that. I really do. And it feels very solid. This feels like a well-made knife. I'm going to say it again for the third time. It feels like a Spyderco. And yeah, that's always a good thing, right? So yeah, I'm going to give construction points to the Tenacious. All right, our last category, possibly the most abstract one, is our X Factor. So X Factor is a kind of, you know, it's the X Factor. It's the perceived, I guess, value is, I guess, kind of way we'd equate to if we're talking about like lefty EDCs, blade battle stuff. But kind of which one of these has more prestige, I guess. And I'll be honest, you know, that little whirligig beetle has a lot of, it's got a lot of prestige attached to it. It carries weight. A lot of people see that and they immediately think, oh, you know, that's Spyderco. That means something, right? But in the enthusiast world, I gotta say, like, I remember when this knife came out, everyone was all over it. I knew I had to get one. It was, like, mandatory. I saw all the reviews. I was like, oh my gosh, it's so smooth. That looks so amazing. It's like a miniature Kona. It's like a budget Konagarius. And Kubey's really been building a name for themselves recently as one of the hardest hitting budget brands on the market. But still, I think that if you were to just walk up to the average Joe and be like, hey, do you want a Kubey knife or a Spyderco knife? They'll be like, oh yeah, Spyderco for sure. That's top quality. And Spyderco Tenacious itself has definitely made its mark, I guess is the best way to say that. It is a knife that's recognized as, you know, good stuff. So, whoa, sorry about that. Got cut off because I had a phone call come through. But yeah, we're going to give the X Factor to the Tenacious because Spyderco. All right, so our final score. We have the Kubey as the winner with a score of 7 compared to the Spyderco's 4. So yeah, the Kubey kicked the Tenacious's butt. But I knew it would. I knew it would going into this. But I thought this would be a really interesting comparison video to do because This is a good knife. I really like the Tenacious. I really do. I think a lot of people like the Tenacious. And this is in far more pockets than this knife. And it's a good knife. It's built well. It cuts well. It does what a knife is supposed to do. It works. And, you know, for the working class guy, this is going to be a good knife. I would definitely prefer this knife over the Kubey in certain situations. You know, this one's a little more resistant to dirt and grime and stuff. But where the Tenacious really suffered was in the categories of value, materials, you know, things like that. And, you know, this might not have been such a bad loss for the Spyderco if it was cheaper. And this is something I and a lot of other people have said, is that these Chinese-made Spydercos are just too expensive. They're not keeping up with the times. 8CR and G10 is not value anymore when you can get this stuff. And it's not like this is made in the USA. These are both made in China. These are both made in China. Heck, they may be even made in factories that are on the same block. I don't know. But, you know, Spyderco's really got to step up their competition in the budget category, because $55, $60 today will get you a lot of knife. A lot of knife. So, yes, I think the Tenacious is a good knife. I really like this knife. I really like this knife too. But yeah, this knife is the clear winner. It's a clear winner. There's a lot of similarities between these two knives, especially when you're holding them. There's a lot of things that are very similar. When you're holding them, when you're using them, they behave the same. Well, not the same, but similarly in a lot of ways. But one offers great value. The other offers great utility, but at what cost, right? So, that's how we're going to end this round. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, comment below, and subscribe. I've been Gideon. I'll see you in the next one. Adios.